Forestry, wood products, pulp and paper products contributed to GDP around 2.1% in 2016. And the export value contributed to around 10% of the total export value. The forest products industry employment, around 10% of the Swedish industry's total employment. The major step forward in our relations was the visit by King Chulalongkorn to Sweden 1897. King Chulalongkorn was given the choice to visit either the northern part or the southern part of Sweden. He chose to go the northern part of Sweden, a small city of Ragunda. One reason for him choosing, as far as I understand, was because of the sawmill industry. And wood was at the time the primary export product to Thailand. At that stage, the Swedish forests had been a source of wood for fuel and timber for domestic use, also served as hunting grounds, but increasingly also serving the industry. A growing forest products industry generated an increasing demand for sawn logs and eventually also for raw materials for the manufacturing of pulp and paper. As a consequence of this intense exploitation and the absence of any reforestation measures, large areas of forest had been depleted by the end of the 19th century, and this led to political action. 1903 is a key milestone when the Parliament declared a national forest policy and passed our first Forestry Act, which initially had a strong focus on the key problem, regeneration. In 1994, we had achieved, I think, a stable situation in terms of reforestation, but the legislation was seen as much too rigid, much too detailed and stiff, not giving room enough for development, innovation. And it was felt that this needed to also influence the legislation much more. Right now, forest management in Sweden is characterized by multifunctional forests, meaning that our forests are managed in a way that they could be used for a variety of functions, wood production for sure, but also biodiversity, protection against soil erosion, production of berries, reindeer herding, and many other functions. But a large climate benefit of forestry is the great capacity, obviously, of forests to bind carbon dioxide. The more forest and the more the forest grows, the more carbon dioxide is bound. And in Sweden, the forest absorbs and stores no less than 155 million tons of carbon dioxide each year. You have 50% owned by private individuals. You have 25% owned by the state or the public sector, and you have 25% owned by companies. The successful development in the Swedish forest sector is due to other aspects than financial incentives. Policy determination, forest science development, the creation of family forest associations, all built on existing land tenure rights, with the aim of strengthening the market power of small forest landholders. Roughly half of all family forest enterprises are members of a forestry cooperative in order to give their members a stronger market position and a better chance to obtain a fair share of the wood value. They can jointly own factories like pulp and sawmills, and thus they are, of course, can easier cooperate to make industry out of their forests. I think one important lesson learned from our experience is the need for a very close dialogue with stakeholders, with civil society and the private sector, including indigenous people. We have the Sami people, and we have experiences of conflicts where the Sami people's rights haven't always been respected as they should be by governments like my own. I know that there have been similar discussions in Thailand as well, where sometimes people have felt that their land rights haven't been respected. I can't say how those situations should be solved, but our experience is that you need to take these issues seriously and engage in a close dialogue with those stakeholders. So when the owner of the forest has harvested the trees, he or she will have to set aside some of the revenue for the selling of wood, for making sure that a new forest will be established. They know that that's part of the economic thinking. The Swedish view of sustainable forest management is that it should be in the long run self-sustained. The long history now of mandatory reforestation means that the long-term perspective is built into the mindset.